Rising petrol prices combined with an increase in environmental awareness is causing people to consider alternative fuels, and CNG is turning out to be a brilliant option. Tata Motors rose up to the occasion and recently launched its CNG powered models, and we have with us one of them here today. Hello and welcome to DriveSpark. I'm Stephen Neal and this is the Tata Tiago iCNG. This is a top spec model and we're here to find out what this is all about. It looks the same from the outside, it feels the same, it's powered by the same engine, but at the flick of a switch you can switch between petrol and CNG, and we are here to find out if that makes a huge difference. Let's go driving. We are behind the wheel of the Tata Tiago iCNG and well, we are driving, and quite simply the car feels exactly like it would in the petrol model, except that now we're switching to the CNG mode. And wait, is there a difference? No, there's no difference, not yet at least, but let me run you through the specs before we get to whether there is a difference or not. So in terms of specifications, well, there is a huge difference. This hatchback is powered by the same 1.2 liter Revertron 3-cylinder petrol engine, naturally aspirated of course, so it puts out about 86 PS of power at 6000 rpm and 113 Nm at around 3500 rpm. That is in the petrol mode when we are running the car on petrol, and now when we are in the CNG mode, well, we have slightly lesser power and torque figures. Puts out 74 PS and 95 Nm, so that's about 12 PS and 18 Nm lower in the CNG mode, in the CNG fueling mode. And to be honest, the difference is not known. Like right now we are in not very dense traffic, but I would say we are in urban areas and there is some traffic, and when you're maneuvering in the city area in crowded spaces like this, well, we feel absolutely no difference at all. It still revs the same way, it still has the same clatter of the 3-cylinder engine, and well, it feels basically the same. We are really unable to make out a difference, especially in these kind of situations. But will there be a difference when the road slightly opens up and we can get on the throttle? Well, it's time to put pedal to the metal and find out if there really is a difference. So here goes. I have pinned the throttle to the floor and well, it is accelerating at a pretty quick pace because let's face it, this is the most powerful CNG powered hatchback in its segment. There's no taking away from that. So performance is pretty brisk, but still we struggle to find differences, a lot of difference at least, between the petrol and CNG modes. Now let's switch back to petrol mode and see, while we are on full throttle, if it makes a difference, if we can feel a slight bump in acceleration. So we have pressed the button and not really. Now we have approached, we have gone past the place, the RPM where the peak torque comes in, and now things are starting to pick up. I'm well into the triple digit speeds, and well, still the difference is not found, but the very fact that you can operate both CNG and petrol and blend both so seamlessly makes this car already a winner for us. Now that is in terms of the engine. Well, in terms of the NVH, it is decent at most. So well, of course it's not very smooth, you still feel the 3-cylinder sound, and then you do get a fair bit of road noise inside the cabin. So that is the NVH bit spoken about. Alright, now it's time to talk about the handling. How does this car handle? Has it changed when compared to the petrol powered Tiago? Well, let's find out. At low speeds, the steering wheel feels exactly the same as a petrol variant. It was one of the best steering setup in its segment. At slow speeds, it is light and easy to maneuver, and as the speed picks up, it becomes tighter, more stable, and that is something that we really like. That is what we enjoy when we drive. So the steering wheel is still a big thumbs up from us. Now in terms of the suspension, well, it still continues to be a little rigid. It's not as rigid as say a performance hatchback, but for an entry-level hatchback it is still very stiff, and well, it's more on the handling side of things. However, we would have liked a little more comfortable ride. In terms of design, not much has changed on the new Tiago iCNG. So up front you've got the same familiar face that we already know very well. So you've got the swept back headlamps, with the projector and the reflector unit. So the projector unit handles the low beam while the reflector unit handles the high beam. And then you've got the grill, Tata signature grill. You've got the tri-arrow design on the grill and the Tata logo sits prominently in the center. Above the grill you've got a black strip, and below the grill you've got the chrome strip, which Tata likes to call the humanity line. Below that you've got the bumper, and in the bumper you've got the fog lamp and LED DRL. So the fog lamp and LED DRL unit looks really nice. It sits to either side of the car, of course. In the center you've got a lower grille with two slats, and beneath that is the lower lip, which accentuates the sporty look of the front end of the car, and that pretty much sums up the front end of the Tata Tiago iCNG. When viewed from the side profile, the Tata Tiago iCNG remains identical to the petrol powered model. However, the color on this one is brand new. This one's called Midnight Plum and has just been launched with the iCNG. This in particular is the XZ Plus dual tone model. So it's got the Midnight Plum, and it's also got the blacked out roof, blacked out spoiler, and also blacked out rear view mirrors, and that pretty much sums up the color end of it. Now let's talk about the other change on the side profile, and that comes in terms of the wheels. So these are beautiful, stylish looking 14-inch wheels that are on the Tata Tiago iCNG. However, these aren't really alloy wheels. Tata has pulled an old trick from its books, and well, what you see, these are plastic covers on top of it. Beneath it you've got 4 simple spoked wheels. Well, it does look good. However, we would have loved a proper alloy wheel. Some other notable design elements include the chrome elements on the door handles, and you've also got the blacked out B pillar. That pretty much wraps up the side profile of the Tata Tiago iCNG. The rear end is once again recognizable just like the rest of the car is. However, there are a few design details that stand out here. Firstly, you've got the blacked out rear spoiler with the stop lamp up there, and then you've got the wraparound tail lamps. Of course, these are taken over from the standard Tiago. However, this isn't. So you've got the iCNG badging over here on the tailgate. You also got 2 other stickers that tell you that this is the CNG model. So you've got the CNG sticker and also the vocal for local sticker, showing that this is a proudly made in India car. Now also you've got the Tata and Tiago badging at the rear, and that pretty much sums up the tailgate part of it. You also got a chrome strip at the lower part of the tailgate, and beneath it you've got the huge bumper. So this is a nice chunky bumper, and you also got a matte black inlay inside it, so it gives it a different design. It gives it a very stylish look at the rear end. It's a very nice car to look at from the rear. However, there's one thing that sticks out, and that is the rear view camera. So the rear view camera is not disguised. Tata, it seems, has not made any attempts to put it inside anywhere. In fact, it is sticking out, so it juts out from the tailgate. That is definitely something that could have been better. And then there's another thing that could have been better, and that's this. So this is the key fob, and you need the key fob to open up the tailgate because, well, you do not have any request sensors. So you take the key fob and you've got the keyhole here, and then you turn the key and that opens up the tailgate. Now I should also mention that you can open the tailgate from the inside next to the driver. You also got a lever there that you can pull and open the tailgate. Now let's check out the CNG tank that we've been talking about. So this is the CNG tank that we were talking about all along. This is a 60-liter tank. It's made of stainless steel and it's got lots of safety features to it as well. I'll brief you about that in just a bit. 60 liters translates to roughly around 9 to 10 kilograms, and that is the capacity in terms of CNG carrying. Now I should also mention, which quite obviously it's seen, it's that it takes up the entire boot space of the Tiago. So the standard Tiago, the petrol powered Tiago, has a boot space of around 242 liters. In this one though, it's reduced to around 80 liters, and that 80 liters, well, there's some space here beneath the tank and above the spare wheel. Now there is a spare wheel. However, to remove the spare wheel, you'll have to fold down the seat and then access the spare wheel from inside the car. So, well, it might be a little inconvenient, but then that's how things work when you have such a big tank in the boot of the car. So it is a compromise, definitely. However, if CNG is your priority, this is the way to go. Now let's talk about some of the safety features that this hatchback comes with respect to the CNG kit. So as you can see, it's a stainless steel tank, and also it's been tested under various pressures and various temperatures. So Tata says it's very safe to use. Also, you've got a manual shut-off valve on the left side of the tank, and well, the piping is very neatly concealed, and it looks very neat in fact. Then you got the other safety features like in case there is a leak, the system detects there's a leak and it switches to petrol immediately. So the CNG usage becomes nil. And then you've got the thermal incident protection. So if the car detects any fluctuations in temperatures and it thinks that there's a fire around somewhere, so what happens is it shuts off the CNG, it shuts off the ignition, etc., and everything is safe and sound. At this point I should also mention that Tata provides a fire extinguisher which is placed underneath the co-driver's seat. And then of course, as with all Tata cars, you get a proper tire puncture repair kit. So you've got the air compressor along with the essentials needed to repair a puncture. Now it's time to go check out the insides of the new Tiago iCNG. The Tata Tiago iCNG is a pretty nice place to be in. So you've got lots of colors at play here. The overall interior consists of a dual tone black and beige combination. However, there are a few other colors at play here and I'll get to that. The top half of the dashboard is decked in a shade of matte black, while the bottom half is decked in beige, and the same beige flows down to the center console as well. However, there are other colors at play here like the piano blacks here and there. So the center console surround, as well as the element on the steering wheel and the control panel for the AC, they all have piano black finishes on them, so it gets an overall premium look. And accentuating that premiumness further are the chrome elements found all over the dashboard. So you've got the chrome surrounds for the air conditioning vents, also you've got the chrome surrounds for the dials, etc. So they add on to the premium touch for the interior of the Tata Tiago iCNG. Now let's get to the steering wheel and the cockpit. So how does it feel? Well, you've got a chunky steering wheel, you've got grooves for your thumb to slot in, you've also got a flat bottom steering wheel, so that makes it a little sporty. You've got the Tata logo placed prominently, and then you've got the steering mounted controls. So you've got these buttons over here to play or pause your music, and then you can increase, decrease the volume. You even have voice control, and then you can pair your phone via Bluetooth using this button on the steering wheel itself. And the steering column is tilt adjustable as well. And then we move on to the digital instrumentation. You've got an LCD screen that takes center stage. It displays a lot of information with respect to the CNG and petrol operation. So wherever you press the button to switch to the CNG or petrol modes, it displays a lot of information over there. Also, it displays a notification or a warning if the fuel filler lid is open and therefore the ignition is shut off. So that's a lot of utility coming out of that little LED screen. And then we come to the main highlight of this dashboard, which is the Harman 7-inch infotainment system. So it's got Android Auto and Apple CarPlay, but it is wired. Of course, we would have wished for a wireless connection, but of course that will lead to an increased price as well. Now let's talk about the other features over here. So you've got the clock, you've got the usual stuff, you've got your Bluetooth audio, you can even pair your phone to this without connecting via Android Auto and Apple CarPlay. And then you've got your iPod Connect as well. Then you've got features like Park Assist, which displays the rear view camera on the screen even if you're not in reverse gear. Very useful feature indeed. Basic features, but very useful features. However, there's one slight drawback to this infotainment system, and that is the performance of the touchscreen. So the UI does seem to be a little laggy, and it takes a little time to detect the input given to it. Other than that, there is no complaints from this, especially given that you've got the Harman audio in this vehicle. So you've got 8 speakers and they deliver the best sound in this segment. So kudos to Tata for providing the Harman audio. Now beneath the infotainment system, you've got some physical buttons over here. Some of them are blank. However, there are 3 very important buttons over here. So the first one controls the fog lamp. The second one controls the lock, unlock of all the doors of the car. And then you've got the most important button on this car, the CNG button. So this is the button that decides when you switch between petrol and CNG. So when you switch to CNG, a green light turns on the button, and you can see on the display CNG mode active, and then we turn it off, the green light disappears, and then over there on the screen you see the range. The range is displayed only in petrol mode, as I've already told you. Now let's get to what's beneath these buttons. So you get to the beige part of the dashboard, and that is where the controls for the climate control are located, and this is something that Tata could have done better. So you've got the knobs and the buttons, those feel good. However, there is a blank space over here where you would normally expect a screen to display the temperature and climate control settings. However, the climate control settings are all displayed on the main infotainment screen, and over here the blank space does look a little awkward. So that is some room for improvement for Tata, especially in this area. This definitely could have been better. Beneath it, you've got the input for the USB. There is a slot to provide the aux input. However, there is no aux input on this vehicle. That also could be an area of improvement. Then you've got the 12-volt socket right next to it, and then there are cubby holes. The center console does look a little bland. It could have been better. Tata could have provided a cubby hole or maybe an armrest for the driver and co-driver. However, it's pretty bland. So you've got cup holders for small size cups, and then you've got the gear lever. You've got a leather boot for the gear lever, and there's a cubby hole at the front and at the back, and that pretty much wraps up the center console and dashboard. Now let's get to the seats. So these are some pretty interesting seats. The colors at play here are very interesting indeed. So the seats are primarily black in color. However, you've got contrast stitching, and then in the central part of the seat you've got some patterns. The tri-arrow pattern has been followed here, and then the tri-arrow pattern is not in one color. So you've got multiple colors at play here. You've got a dark grey, and then you've got the beige, etc. So it gives it an interesting look and boosts the overall image of the interiors. As I mentioned earlier, underneath the co-driver's seat you've got the fire extinguisher placed, so it's very accessible. However, it does not interfere with your leg space at all, so kudos to Tata for placing it that way. And then speaking of storage space, you've got one single glove box here. You press this button and there's a slow opening glove box, and you've got a separate space to place the documents of the vehicle or other papers. You've got decent space in here. Finally, you've got the door pockets in which you can store 2 half-liter water bottles on either side, and you can store some knickknacks, probably a wallet or your phone. And there's also a cubby hole for the driver, so lots of usable storage spaces up front in the car. Now it's time for us to get into the rear seat. Now we're in the back seat of the Tata Tiago iCNG, and well, things are pretty comfortable in here. I couldn't really complain about the comfort. Now let's talk about the headroom. So there is a decent amount of headroom and decent amount of knee room as well. The thigh support could have been better, but leg room is also decent. I can stretch to this extent. Yes, you can't expect more from a car in this segment. And then there are some features which we feel are missing. So you've got no back pockets in the front seats. Also, the storage space in the door pockets is less, so you can store only 1 half-liter bottle in this, and maybe your wallet or your phone, and that pretty much sums up the storage spaces. Now I should also mention that there is no fold down armrest. Of course, it's not a feature that you would expect in this segment, but this being a top end variant, we would have loved to have a fold down armrest as well. And then there are no adjustable headrests as well. So well, if you want to lean back, you would have to lean back this way, or well, you can't really adjust the headrest. So these are some features that are missing in the rear seat. Now let's talk about a few other things that we noticed while sitting in the back seat. So you've got this transmission tunnel here. Now if you are a passenger sitting in the center in the rear seat, you are definitely going to be uncomfortable, because well, it is pretty tall and also it is pretty wide. So you'll either have to put your legs around it, or you'll have to place your legs on top of it, which is going to be uncomfortable in any case. Now the transmission tunnel we feel wasn't needed, given that this is a front wheel drive car. However, we're not sure what's underneath the transmission tunnel, so that's one thing. Another thing is the window. So when you open the window doesn't go all the way down. So say if you want to place your hand here, it's not going to be easy, neither is going to be very comfortable. So this is something that could have been better as well. So that pretty much wraps up the rear seat experience of the Tata Tiago iCNG. The Tata Tiago iCNG is one of the most likable cars in its segment. Now, what Tata has done with this car is democratize the CNG segment for us buyers. If you are a buyer in the CNG segment, earlier you had only a few variants to choose from with the offerings. However, now with the Tiago and Tigor, Tata has given us lots of variants to choose from, with the base variant starting at just ₹6.09 lakh, and then there's the top spec variant going up to 7.64 lakhs. In between, there's a lot of features that get added or minus, and well, you can choose what you want, nothing more, nothing less, and that's why we like this car a lot. Do let us know in the comment section what you thought about the Tata Tiago iCNG, and also if you've got any doubts about the CNG powertrain, do let us know and we will make sure to answer them for you. That's it from us for now. Thank you for watching. Do stay tuned to DriveSpark. This is Stephen Neal signing off. Drive safe and stay safe.